So everything is changing in terms of how parenting would have happened, or what are the priorities, what are the threats in the digital media that have surfaced, or that have really come to the knowledge of parents. Because earlier, even though parents were working and they were thinking that yes, they are able to talk to the children and they're able to find out what's happening, but by being with them more and more, they've observed the behavioral patterns the children have been going through. And more and more, a lot of children I've seen have not only started to do online learning, but also falling in the trap of the threats which are prevalent online. And therefore this is very important for our discussion today. I think it's important to highlight that not only do we get positives out of the online media or the digital media, like we have access to education, access to information, entertainment, communication, but the world, though it's become closer, it has also become, a sign of worry at times, because on the digital space, a lot is because of anonymity, not visible to the everybody right now. So there are criminals who take to online means to commit crimes. Most offenses which used to happen, say, offline, have shifted to the online media, where the physical harm may not be as much as mental trauma to a kid, or extortion caused to a kid. So I want to highlight the basic threats which children are facing. On the self-care front, children are getting addicted, first of all, to the internet. So they're not only learning through online means, but then gaming has taken a toll on their health. Long hours of social media have taken a toll on their health. Also their studies getting impacted with it. So the first thing is the self-regulation. So a family needs to really emphasize that they need to have screen times. Like Sachin was explaining, there are ways to monitor screen times. So we can do the same. Just when out of abundant caution, all parents are curious to, or rather eager to look after their children. And how much do they know about technology is another aspect. So therefore these apps like Family Link, Google Family Link, can be useful in that regard. Second part is, let us see if we are not causing our family rules are not being breached. Once we make a family rule and we adhere to it, and we all are trying to work around that, the other threats which are their external threats, we can put antiviruses, anti-spywares on the systems or devices, because there are a lot of strangers who would meet your child online, maybe by social media, and they start befriending the kid because they want to know more and more personal information about the kid. Not only that, I have also seen and I've handled cases like these where even credit card frauds have happened, because the child has gullibly given away his credit card number to a stranger, because this a stranger was promising him some free gift coupons or vouchers for online gaming, which were non-existent. It was just a trap. So children have even parted with their OTPs and their two-step verifications, even if they have installed a two-step verification for transactions online. So that is something we need to tell the kids, that you need to be cautious and not share any kind of personal information, whether it is personal selfies. Don't give away selfies to people, and videos, and be very cautious of clicking on any links by, especially by people who are not trusted, or anybody sending you a link to go to. So always check for a new service on the web, what is the service about, what are the terms and conditions, why what information is the site asking me. For example, if you're downloading an app, like an educational app, even then you have to know from consumer experience whether this is a credible app or not, what is the platform you're downloading it from, and how many people have reviewed it, and also look at the site. If it's a payment site or a e-wallet, then the payment has to be through a secure platform. Usually on the URL, the address bar, there would be an HTTPS with a lock shown. which shows that it is a secure socket layer protected website. So if you're buying goods, even shopping online, you have to be careful that you're only paying on such sites which are HTTPS and not unsecure sites. So that's very important for us to understand. Children, I have dealt with these cases where children have, especially girls, have become a target of sextortion rackets, and they have either not given the photographs themselves, but the keyloggers have been installed on their phones, again by clicking on certain links. The keyloggers is something like Sachin was also explaining, will not be visible, but they'll be downloaded on the system. And like a CCTV makes everything transparent, it will start showing everything that the child is doing on screen. So we have to again install antiviruses and anti-spyware for that. And if there is a blackmail, a child can be blackmailed. So it's very important to keep that communication channel with the parents and the children at or the school, because even schools have intervened at that point. School counselors have been consulted by children. Schools have had anti-bullying policies and I would say IT policies, social media policies in place, and students have sometimes encountered problems online and they've shared with schools, which is a good thing. And similarly, they have shared with parents. But it in situations like Blue Whale, it can go out of hand. In a trauma, a child can really end up having a suicide. So we want to avoid all those serious cases and let us know in advance what is happening. So it's good to use these tools to know what's happening in the child's life. In one of the cases, the pictures of the girl were put up on various social media sites by somebody who stole those pictures from the phone of the girl, and she went into depression. She when she finally shared it with the parent put her to counseling, and the case was lodged. We intervened, and the case was lodged in the police, and investigation was carried out, and we found the perpetrator, who is the perpetrator. And these are very clever criminals. They use fake accounts. You see, they use fake accounts to create such accounts on social media and then entice children. It is known as grooming, this term, because they start interacting with the child, and when they start interacting with the child, they take away all kinds of personal information from the child and then start blackmailing the child later. So this is a common scenario. It's known as a sextortion racket. And also, what are the other threats? If you ask me, then ransomware is another very important thing to discuss, because especially when children like to experiment and go on the dark web, they use they conceal their real IP address. Just like a home address, every system has an IP address. And there are software tools available today to hide your real address. And sometimes children, out of curiosity, go into the dark web. Or on the other side, the criminals might use these tools. Like, it's known as, for example, Tor is one of the tools they use. And when they go, these criminals try to create fake accounts and ask the child to send them personal information, and which they then misuse. Or they would send a link which will lock their systems, the child's system. So it's known as a ransomware attack. They encrypt all the files on the system, and they ask for money, that they will decrypt it or unlock it only once the child pays the money. So these are also some of the rampant threats which are there. Apart from that, very common scenario is a cyber bullying. I think one in say 10 child or 8 children today are target of cyberbullying. And in that, what happens is they are trying, somebody tries to, maybe a peer, or tries to, uh, out of a personal grudge or just for his own you know what you call, some kind of a illegal motive, he tries to harass the child. And many girls, even boys, have become a victim of such sexual harassment. Could be there, it could be by verbal abuse, it could be by any kind of you can say creation of any video to insult the child, or to create some memes or some sort of images or illustrations or cartoons to hurt the self-esteem of a child, to bully a child, or to create a fear in the child, or to defame a child, to create a bad image among the other friends. So this all affects the child's psychology a lot, and that's what we need to look for. Even if they're chatting on WhatsApp, or they're making video calls, group calls, or studying together in a group, some jokes are floated on the group. It should not be something that the child is suffering from humiliation of any sort, in that group. So that needs to be monitored as well. And in many cases, children are trolled. Most on social media, most children, even though they're not 13 years, sometimes they've created their accounts. So below 13, even social media platforms say we don't allow creation of accounts. But I have seen that a lot of children do create accounts by giving false declarations of their age. And sometimes even parents have helped them create it, because they feel it's good to post their pictures there, to share what they're doing. Yes, it is harmless to some extent, but whenever it becomes very very I would say it exposes a child or a family to something which could be very dangerous, it should be avoided. For example, before going for a holiday, they would always say check in, check out, they're going for a holiday on a flight, and the house could be buggled, you know, behind because there are hackers on social media, and they are on the lookout for such information. So when you're done your holiday, when you come back, you can put some pictures, that's fine, but don't disclose every private information. That's what I have seen. It's very important to highlight here. And apart from this, you see, trolling is another issue. Uh, like we have, even politicians are not spared, celebrities are not spared. They are trolled. Even children are trolled, and even women are trolled. So it's something that we have to keep in mind. What kind of remarks are being put on the account? What information? Who is sharing what information? We have to be vigilant of all those issues as well, whether it is PUBG or TikTok. TikTok now is banned, but there are so many of these apps which are taking away data from us. So these are the current threats which are prevalent, and we have to be mindful of what the child is doing all the time. We have to be mindful. So in order to do that, these tools can help. Talking can help. Schools have intervened, and they have really helped the children through online learning platforms, using safer video conference platforms, uh, learning management systems. It's becoming important to emphasize on secure Wi-Fi systems even at home. What are the Wi-Fi systems you're using, and how you're able to basically monitor their whole day's routine. That's a now parents have increased role right now. I think it's becoming more and more important, because till the lockdown finishes, they have to handle the child right from morning till the night. So that is an important role to play here. And apart from this, you see, it's important to also share with you that what is the law in the country, what are the punishments, and what is the offense. So the Indian IT Act, the Information Technology Act, is the main legislation, main law which protects children online in the IT space. And POCSO is another act, which is Protection of Children Against Sexual Offences Act. And both these acts are very important, because if you say hacking, this is a offense. So somebody intentionally, unauthorizedly accesses somebody's account, steals any information, downloads any information, commits hacking, which is punishable with 3 years of imprisonment and fine. So just for fun, I know there are children who just for fun do certain things, and sometimes they have a wrong intent also, maybe to cause some harassment to another person. We've just seen boys locker room case. It was in media. So we have encountered time and again new cases of bullying. There have been rumor, I would say happy slapping, rumor mongering, and other kind of issues which children have faced. So it is important for us to see that there is no criminal intimidation involved. So what makes it criminal? If it's just done for fun, but if what is the mental intent? We have to see the intention plus the likelihood or the knowledge that this could lead to a harm to somebody. The intention is important as well as the act is important. So if the intention is illegal, then coupled with the act, it becomes a crime. So that's important for us to understand. So criminal intimidation is again punishable offense, up to 2 years of imprisonment and fine. Defamation again is an criminal offense if it is done for criminal purposes. Similarly, sexual harassment under POCSO, again 3 years of imprisonment, fine or both. Child pornography, very importantly, anybody clicking without permission, anybody's, even a child's, photograph which is obscene in nature, which is sexually explicit in nature, commits a offense of child pornography. It is a completely prohibited offense, and again 5 years of imprisonment, fine or more, both under POCSO as well as the IT Act, Section 67B of the IT Act. So if you see any kind of verbal abuse, any kind of showing any wrong object to a child, which with the in mind, some sexual harassment in mind, or even use of some signs, gestures, even that amounts to sexual harassment. Sending a wrong video to a child, which is illegal. So transmission, publication of such content is illegal. So in one of the cases, some child had a grudge against another child because she refused to get into a relationship with him, and this boy, he created about different one or two different websites of fake names, and published on that morphed pictures of the girl. He morphed the pictures, he changed the pictures and made it very obscene in nature, and used different actresses pictures along with the real girl's picture, and mixed the pictures and created those platforms, and then sent her a link for her to view. Obviously this could create a havoc in her life, and it did. And once it was reported, those websites were blocked. We sent legal notices to the website, the hosting company of the website, the police took action, and then in such scenarios, automatically, I mean, immediately there would be a blocking, and the IT Act gives guidelines, so within 36 hours of the site going to know that something like this is there, they have to remove this. So what you need to do in such a scenario, if you know somebody has gone through some, problem like this, immediately report to the social media platform. They have a block report abuse or a block, block the post feature on their site. Plus, they have a public grievance officer appointed for every site. So the terms and conditions will also have that. That needs to be done immediately, and keep the snapshots of the evidence, because a lot of parents, or they would just delete that information out. That's not needed, because what is needed is the evidence. So just take screenshots of that, and then apart from taking the screenshots, you also need to save them, basically save the entire screenshots, and then you need to basically also formulate a complaint under the IT Act. So that's what we do. Basically, write down the whole complaint, why this is an offense, and once we do that, then the police takes action, and then the investigation will lead to who is the perpetrator, because the law enforcement agencies can take that information from these media portals, and usually the media portals will not reveal that information even to any private party, or a parent for that matter of fact. So it's important to get it from the police, the enforcement agency, and there would be a punishment. In cases of defamation, damages can also be claimed. You can ask for damages. If somebody, like a child's reputation has been damaged. In many cases, there's an undertaking also which is issued. Injunction can be granted by the court to restrain this person from misusing any data if he has stolen any data of the girl, or to destroy that data out. and undertaking are signed by these perpetrator that he would not repeat this again. These are also some situations which have happened in the past. Therefore, the main worry of parents is, why should we report it? It is mandatory especially under the POCSO, to report any kind of sexual harassment committed on any child. It's not optional; it is mandatory, and therefore, there would be an imprisonment of 6 months or more if it is not disclosed. So it's also important to protect the child. The concern of most parents would be, why should we reveal the name of the kid? Because then the defamation will happen. Even the schools are reluctant at times to report it. But one must, if it is sexual offense, which we must report it, and the child's name can be kept secret. The law allows it, and the media is supposed to not report the name of the child also, if there is any kind of reporting ever. And sometimes, in fact, most cases have happened in camera proceedings. We say it will not be heard in open court at all. It will be in the judge's chamber or in camera proceedings. So it is confidentially done, and therefore there is minimum exposure to of any sort, to the child or the child's family. That's important. The legal process is been attuned to this, need of the parent to just keep the name secure for the child and for protecting the best interest of the child. Basically, that is highlighted. And also, it's important to share here that though these threats are there and we have these tools there, the law is there. And we are also aware that these cases will lead to some sort of legal recourse, whether it is punishing the perpetrator or it is blocking the content out or asking for damages. There is yet another aspect to this whole thing. If there is an unauthorized debit made to account of a child or a parent by confusing the child and taking away information, there is another law, court, which is the adjudicating authority under our IT Act. He is the officer who can grant compensation in unauthorized banking transactions. So the role of the victim is to inform the bank immediately that this debit has occurred on his account and block the card if it is a credit card. And thereafter, if the bank fails to take action, the bank is liable to compensate you. So that's also important to address here. And we all understand it is the stakeholders, all of us as different stakeholders in this ecosystem need to collaborate, whether it's law enforcement, it's parents, teachers, schools. Even schools are doing wonderfully well in terms of educating the children through workshops and creating cyber awareness among parents, among their staff, their teachers. I've myself conducted more than 1,000 or two, maybe more trainings, and maybe educated about more than a lakh or so police officers and judges across India, and children and parents. So this is through our organization FIRE, which is Fire NGO, where I've basically set this organization because I understood the need is huge. We really need to create more and more cyber empowerment in the country, because crimes have shifted on the online space. So apart from practicing law and managing this firm, State Associates, I just set up this FIRE for this reason. And we have been training, talking to parents like in this webinar. And I'm so happy that Lancer Schools has taken this initiative. And it is something that is the need of the hour. So it's something that we cannot afford to ignore anymore, and it's all of us as an ecosystem really need to work together. So we are trying to create this awareness because of this dire need at this point of time. So given this background of what is the law and what are the threats, where you can report. Now the question is, if there is an incident which occurs, apart from keeping screenshots, apart from taking all measures to inform the social media platform or your bank if it is an unauthorized transaction, the police can be contacted either on 100 or on cybercrime.gov.in. cybercrime.gov.in. This is a national portal all over India, you can sitting and at your home, you can just report it online. You will be given a diary number, and an inspector will be assigned to investigate the offense. And during lockdown especially, you can't go to police stations, so it's very helpful. And I've myself advised so many of the victims which have people were victimized during the lockdown period, various cyber crimes, even payment apps. I can't name the apps here, but there are a lot of frauds happened through these apps. They were fake donation sites of fake NGOs. They were fake, psychotherapists. They were fake people selling different services, and even payment wallets. They were sort of containing various viruses, taking away people's information and leading to unauthorized debits. So a lot of them happen through social engineering. So this is a time when we have to be vigilant, not only as a parent, but for ourselves also. When we are making any transaction online, we have to be careful of what we are clicking, where we are going, what service we are buying. So from that perspective also, 86% rise in cybercrime happened during lockdown as per MHA. It's a very big glaring figure. So 86%, and a lot of people under panic of corona just tried to see various apps, and more time being spent online. So criminals also decided to make money like that. So they also decided to extort people, money from people and trouble people. So that's why this is essential that we are vigilant all the time what we are doing on our online space. And what I feel is that overall, the as we are saying, we have to revamp our skill set. We have to reinvent ourselves as parents, as even as schools. New online learning policies are being framed by schools, because the whole focus has changed. So we've helped some schools do that as well. And as parents want to know, they want to learn more about digital safety online, not only for themselves but for their kids. So that is again being emphasized through various online workshops and courses which they're enrolling in. So that's a very healthy sign. I feel that that's the best way to make use of your time. So and to update on this front. And legal awareness is something which is paramount, because today law is not only just for law practitioners or for judiciary, but it is a shield in everybody's hands. You're a cyber warrior after all. You have to be, because you can't afford to just be gullible and be duped by people online. So you have to be smart enough to understand and avoid any kind of traps that cyber criminals are placing on you, and remain updated with the things. So you can also go through a YouTube channel. It's called Cyber Law India, which has various discussions on this, debates and child safety and other things. If you'd like to see that as a resource, it's a channel called Cyber Law India. And there will be more resources. I authored a book called Protection of Children on the Internet. Wrote one for the NCPCR, Child Online Victims of Cybercrime, and computers, internet, new technology laws. Through writing, I think this education is spread. Through webinars, through videos, this education is spread. So keep on learning. I think this space has a lot to learn, and we as educators also have to keep abreast of learning. We are all students of cyber law, because this law and the field of technology is changing every single day. So we also are learners, in this space, apart from being educators to even law enforcement, because we have to be one step ahead of the cyber criminal. Otherwise, what's the point? So that is how I always encourage you to learn more about this space. I think with this, I'll just leave some time for questions. We can take a few questions from the audience.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll just give you a minute or two to have a glass of water. You'll be speaking for wonderfully for a long time. Okay, the coronavirus pandemic has forced millions of families from across the globe to adopt social distancing and rely on their internet-enabled devices to communicate with the outside world, friends and family also. However, the digital world can also provide anonymity, which is often abused by cyber criminals. And in today's social media era, it is essential to teach our children how to spot the red flags in any online communication with strangers. That is what Dr. Kanika was just talking about. Dear parents, I think we are ready to take the questions. Mr. Sachin Dedia, are you there? Also to take the questions, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there.
Yes, sir. So, where can we learn more about cybersecurity and its implementations?
Ma'am, I think now even the government has started with some workshops on cybersecurity also. So basically, what we always encourage the parents is let the child attend some small seminars or workshops with respect to cybersecurity, which I think can be done through your school also. And once then they feel interested in this particular workshops, basically, I mean, they will feel, okay, I can do this. This is my cup of tea or something like that. Then they can go for some little bit more professional courses. There are certification courses also which are available, which
Yes,
if you want, ma'am, I'll share it with the school itself.
yes, sir. Thank you so much.
I'd like
And
to say something on this.
yes,
I'm
ma'am.
in Under Fire. We just created a e-learning course for cyber safety for children, and there was a very good response from various universities across India and schools. Children enrolled in that program. It was a 3 day or short course on cyber safety. But if we intend conducting more on of these kind of courses, which are easily to understand and easy to manage time. So maybe 5 day or a 1 week or a 1 month internship can also occur. We are in the midst of framing that. Maybe that will be launched very soon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'd request the parents who are present here, if you have any questions, will you please put it in the chat box? I have a question from my student who has asked that opening unknown links can be a threat for us, but sometimes they also result in opportunities. How can we know whether the link is secured or not?
Hmm. That's
This is a
very interesting question. Um, well,
yes,
there are a lot of ways to find it out. First of all, who is sending the link? If it's a complete stranger, then it's important to just ignore that link first of all. If it is if you have an antivirus or a anti-spyware, it allows you to check a particular link before downloading also at times, especially if you want to download an ebook, for example. It says you want to check this for antivirus and then only download the file. So I usually use that as a tool before downloading any file from the net. I usually take an antivirus check. And for links also, you can use similar antivirus softwares which allow you to check the links also. And if the site has a certificate or not, if it is SSL protected or not, even that shows with on the URL at times. So in Mac, for example, when you use it just shows at the top whether the site is secure to go to also or not. If I try to access a particular site, it gives me a red flag and says the site is not secure. Do you still want to access it, or you want to deny access? So
yes, ma'am.
that's what you can do.
Thank you. Most of the time, children download books and reading material, and only the first few pages are readable, and the rest is all malware.
Yes,
So the children need to be very careful while downloading this. So,
absolutely.
is there something which tells them that this should not be downloaded?
Yeah. Another thing which I want to share, Sachin was during his presentation, he raised this point that whether any antivirus without the permission or the information to a child can be downloaded, as a keylogger to monitor his activity. It was a very pertinent question, and then I thought I'll answer it later. From the legal
Okay.
point of view, a child is under the care of the guardian or the parent till he's 18 or she's 18. So the parent has that responsibility to monitor. usually they are able to talk to the child and put a family Google family sort of a app, that's all right. But if child is grown up, he wants to have his own space and not be restricted. So
Yeah.
in that scenario, if it is under 18, you are still as a parent entitled to do it, and he cannot say that I have a right of privacy, per se, because in India, especially in the kind of context and the culture we are in, we are adult only when we turn 18. So that is a scenario. But in Europe, in UK, children, even when they're 13 and above, they start exerting their rights of privacy, and those are kind of cultures where the right to privacy is kind of protected to a greater degree than in India in that regard.
Okay.
Child protection.
So, okay, there's a question coming in from a student. What are the career options in India in ethical hacking or cybercrime? I'm sure this is to Sachin sir.
Okay, ma'am, there are a lot of, I mean, honestly speaking, there are career options which are opening up
Yes, sir.
in the field of cybersecurity and ethical hacking. Honestly speaking, it is not that today you will do the course and tomorrow you're going to get the job. But this is an upcoming domain. This is a domain which is going to come in I mean, it is already coming, but the real scope will come after 2 or 3 years when India might start with their own cyber army. Okay, or there'll be a lot of banks and companies and corporates who are going to go digital. See, in the next 5 years, robots will walk, drones will fly, and electric cars are going to come, right? So basically, there would be a need for cybersecurity experts because robot chalega to bhi security chahiye, drone chahiye. So the scope is really good. It's just that the child should be feeling, interested to be a part because see, when you talk about cybersecurity, it is the child should be a little bit of an aggressive mind or of a curiosity mind, like how do I go and break into this particular thing itself. Or when you talk about digital forensics, the child should be more of Sherlock Holmes, Momkesh Bakshi, कि अच्छा कोई hack करके गया, okay, how do I figure it out that how did this thing happen? Okay, so yes, but there is immense scope in both this ethical hacking as well as
Yes,
cybercrime itself.
yes, sir.
But to add
Now,
to what Sachin said, there
yes,
are
ma'am.
CIOs of companies, CISOs, Chief Information Security Officers. That is another job which a lot of IT companies or even otherwise any company would need, because every company is dependent on IT as a infrastructure for their
Yes,
business.
ma'am.
And there is a chief
Yes.
officer required to supervise all the network and activities which are going on in this organization. Data science is yet another domain.
Okay.
So their development of apps or analytical analysis of data in use of artificial intelligence, all these are new areas opening up for any kind of I would say IT enterprise who is into manufacturing IT or providing any kind of IT related services. So there is a huge scope for cybersecurity to ensure security, to create new gadgets. There is another need, for IT, awareness in terms of knowledge. There is data processing of data, especially data, handling in terms of data mining. That is also another area. And then obviously the scope of providing IT related services, cloud computing, for instance. So there is a need, dire need for computer security services. This is opening up. Lot of career
Okay,
options.
ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Now, this is for the parents. For more details on cybersecurity training and workshops, please fill out the form below and a team member will get in touch with you in the next week. This is for our parents. Please see, it's in the chat box. The link is given in the chat box. You will please see it from there. Now, there's another question, ma'am. The child, while downloading any app, is there a way in which we would recognize this Lexi Spy app uh, and connect to it? App is related or connect to it?
I couldn't understand the question. Could you please repeat it?
Okay, just a moment. I'll just get the question. It has been taken off, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, while downloading any app, is there a way in which we would recognize this Flexi Spy app or connect to it and relate to it? Flexi Spy. I think Mr.
That's
Sachin,
what Sachin was talking about. I think
yes,
with the help of these antiviruses, anti-spyware only you can detect, because
yeah, ma'am.
otherwise technically it may not be possible for a common man to detect without use of tools.
Yes,
So it's important to do that. That should be a good way. Yeah.
thank you, ma'am. Now, there's another question which says, even after having fingerprint locks or face locks or two-factor authentication, can someone hack our phone or any social media handle?
So
This is
even after
another student of ours who's asking.
two-step verifications, well, in email accounts we have two-step verifications. Even for online banking, we have two-step verifications. To access your social media accounts, maybe you can put that. But again, you see, it depends. If your network or your Wi-Fi is hacked or your device is hacked with a keylogger, for instance, then obviously your account is compromised. Uh, you need to have stronger firewalls. You need to have stronger encryption. Uh, I would say VPNs, virtual private network, that could be used. Many organizations have already started using that, but on a private level, keep password managers, because they encrypt your password, so nobody can detect your password easily. Because we have various passwords for various things, so it's always good to have the password manager. Use a VPN, use a good firewall, use a good antivirus and an anti-spyware. I think with that, things can, to a greater extent, you can safeguard yourselves.
There's this question, ma'am, which says children these days are vulnerable because they have easy access to everything. There is no filter, no lock. Then shouldn't such sites not be warned? The sites who put this up, shouldn't they be warned?
Yes, there is a law in the country. You see, we have the IT Act, and in that, if there is any kind of publication or circulation of obscene content, which is not fit for their viewing, that is a punishable offense with up to 3 years or 5 years of imprisonment, fine or more.
Yeah,
The
because
Supreme Court,
sorry, ma'am, please continue.
the Supreme Court of India also is seized with this issue of child pornography and other kind of adult content online. So there was this case of Kamlesh Vaswani, also which is there, and there have been specific directions by the court for the government to create enough intelligence and other facilities, tracking facilities to ban or block child porn. Also, there have been many, attempts at. In fact, the court has basically given directions to the tech companies, to social media giants, to take, steps to block such kind of content from publication. So there have been measures which are in place in this regard. There are being measures which are being placed by the courts also and by the tech companies. Can't hear anything.
I think Kavita is having some network issue.
Yeah, um, I was not able to hear the session for a minute, but
Hello, I think she has got disconnected.
okay. So, was there a question?
Yes, ma'am. There are some questions I can see.
The question here was, I think, on the chat window, I can see
Yes,
is
ma'am. Where if someone is talking, where to go if someone is talking? One of our
okay.
student is asking
Yes.
where
So,
if
if there is stalking which is happening, then again we need to inform the police for the same. And there are also children helplines like 1098, 112 is also there as a child helpline, where there could be an incident response and the police could take action. And if there's a stalking happening, then the evidence of that also needs to be recorded, whether it is with screenshots or a video, that can be also done. This is an offense under IT Act. Again, if it is for sexual harassment, POCSO also act is in place, and there are imprisonment of about 3 years of punishment and fine or more. So that's also something which is considered an offense. And very recently, I had another case where stalking was the main offense involved, apart from harassing the girl, bullying the girl through creation of a fake account on a social media site. So the child was being stalked, the girl was being stalked by a group of peers, her peers, and because the names of the children were of the classmates, and that happened on a social media platform. So the portal was reported this on the social media. There was a report abuse done, and a complaint was filed with the cyber cell, and they took action to find out who the perpetrator is. So, with the help of police, you're able to find out from where this account was created and who was the creator, and how this what was the activity was just happening. Specifically, if there was a fake identity used for a wrongful purpose, for example, to harass the girl or to harass the child, mentally disturb the child, use of abusive language or something which is sending any obscene information. Uh, those are new offenses. These offenses also get attracted apart from stalking. Sexual harassment would be there, and if it's publication or circulation of obscene content, the sections of the IT Act also get roped in. So it depends on the situation to situation, but these are all common day everyday problems. Specifically, it's easy to create any kind of fake account in a social media platform, and that is a main modus operandi, main method how criminals or even children who don't understand the law and the implications of their actions are falling into these kind of illegal activities. And let me also explain that even if a child is below 18, but if he commits an offense under the law, there is a punishment even for that child. He's sent to an observation home. There is counseling given so that he comes back into the mainstream rehabilitated. So the idea is to act in the best interest of the child. In that regard, so it's not that a child below 18 will not be tried like you have an adult trial, but there is a difference in the two, because the Juvenile Justice Act comes into play if it's a child below 18 years of age, person. So, but there is a law enforcement procedure. It is still an offense. So that's what I want to explain. The treatment may be different. The way the action takes place is different, but there is a law in the country and there are enforcement mechanisms we have in this regard.
and there is also another question from a student of ours: how to stop others from downloading our photos on social media?
How to stop others?
Others, from downloading our photos on social media.
Okay, so if you don't want a particular picture to be used by other people, you should communicate it. And many times, you yourself put some pictures which are not supposed to be on a platform, so that should be avoided. and discouraged. Anything which is posted by for example a friend of yours, so that is something which I don't think we'll have an objection to. But if something is very personal, there objection arises. Or if it is a morphed picture, for example, that's where you would have a great concern. But if you're putting a picture in on your social media profile and somebody else misuses it for his illegal gains or illegal purpose, then it is a criminal activity. So that's something which you can take an action on. You can ask them to take off that picture. And it can also be, if it is for the purposes of harassing a person, amount to criminal intimidation, or it could be a harassment. Depends on the facts of every case. So in which context it was used, how it was used, by whom it was used. So we cannot have a general answer for this. So it depends on every facts, of every case.
And another question, watching movies or series on various sites nowadays as a substitute of Netflix and etc. But many times while tapping on the content, we reach to some other sites. Can cause it a harm to our devices?
Yes, it is known as malvertising. I was going through a site the other day and I realized that there's a pop-up window which comes and starts playing an ad, and that takes you to another site which is not appropriate for you. So now that's something we need to report abuse. So whether it is coming through any means, whether it is coming through a particular app, or it is coming through Google Ads or otherwise, you have to report abuse, to such content. And it can infect the system, especially if uh, these sites put cookies into your system, or if you allow them to put notifications, then that can be dangerous. So avoid any kind of going to such sites, and if you do land up there, just close the cross button without giving the site any kind of permissions, or signing or accepting any kind of notifications. Let me also explain you that any kind of I agree button or okay on any such sites puts your data at risk, because if you do that, you're signing an electronic contract. It's known as a click wrap agreement, which is enforceable in a court of law. So it is something that we must be very careful of, because we often just click on I agree button and move ahead with availing services of a site, or we may not choose to avail it later on if we don't find it appropriate. But if you've clicked on the I agree button, you've already lost a lot of data if they are collecting any kind of data from your systems.
Another question is there, what to do if some suspicious ads and links get opened on its own despite having antivirus app in mobile?
Okay, you should just close the site in that case, because you don't want your device to be exposed to any kind of website which is insecure. Usually, I just kind of close the particular site if you don't want it. And since I use Apple, it's got a way of checking the security certificate for every site I visit. So it just gives a pop up and says, it gives a warning whether you'd like to go to this site, because it doesn't have a secure certificate, digital certificate.
Can the work from home sites can cause any harm, such as intershala? What is that?
Work from sites, work from home.
Home sites, yes. Can the work from home sites can cause any harm?
I'm not sure what exactly.
Yes, the question has
Not
someone has put
probably what they mean
private
is that
question.
when you're working from home, is it all right to go to?
What is intershala, such as intershala?
I'm not sure, but it could be a site where some
Yes,
educational videos are playing for.
See,
one of the student is
Internshala is
asking.
something where you get online projects, or you can bid for, or you can apply for internships, kind of a thing.
That's what
So,
I heard. Yeah, yeah.
so as long as we are not ended up sharing a lot of our personal data, or our what I can say, Aadhaar cards, or something like that, I think it's all okay to just go and register and get some work. But I would request that work from home kind of a thing where you end up getting a lot of work. You before you even start the work, you should get that offer letter and everything like that. That should be more preferred. So
Okay.
basically, like I have posted my work on Internshala, and then I get a lot of these freelancers, a lot of students who wants to do internships with me. But I
Megna?
always ensure that there is an SLA agreement and something like that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
So, any more questions?
Till now, can't
Parents
see
taking any
any.
more questions? Mitu teacher, I'm here.
Oh, okay, thank you.
My video cannot be seen. I don't know why, but I'm here.
Okay,
Huh.
thank you.
Okay.
Are parents
Please take
putting in
over.
any more questions? There's a question from Kanak Pansari. Every time the links get opened whenever the mobile is on, it is a child's. What is the question?
Yes,
Every time the link gets opened whenever the mobile is on and it
Yes,
is
I
in
have asked.
child's mobile and that site
I
is
have asked the question.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
fine, ma'am.
all the questions.
Fine.
you can ask.
Already done.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
I
I-
think
You can go through. There's a lot of interesting content on our Fire website, like I said, at firengeo.com, and you can also look at the Cyber Law India website on YouTube for more resources, or read the books that we've done on child protection. And there is a lot to learn in this space, both in terms of technology and law. Plus, we hope to have more courses and more interactions with Lancer School as well on this issue. So
sure, ma'am.
we would be happy to contribute our expertise in this awareness drive,
Yes, ma'am.
to
Thank you
empower
so much.
parents and
Thank
empower.
you.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
Mitu
with
teacher, if
this,
we don't
with
have
this,
any more
yes,
questions,
yes, with this now we have come to the end of our session. Thank you so much, Dr. Karnika and Mr. Sachin, for such an insightful session. We hope that we could help our students and parents learn a little more about the cyber world. Online and offline security is extremely important. Am I audible?
Yes.
yes, ma'am, very
Yes.
much.
Okay, thank you. So online and offline security is extremely important for our school. And so we are very grateful to all our participants and the Lancers Army School team for organizing this event. We are pleased to say that we are one of the only schools in the state to be organizing an event on this topic, and it is beyond online education or normal curriculum. It is our endeavor to always add value to our parents and students, and we will keep going an extra mile for organizing such sessions for your welfare. For more details on cybersecurity training and workshops, or for general queries about this webinar, please fill out this link mentioned in the chat box, and a team member will get in touch with you next week. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you once and all of you present
Thank
here.
you.
I
Thank you,
would
ma'am.
like to thank everybody from on behalf of Lancers Army School. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you one and
Thank
all.
you, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.